And they say if we'll only avoid any direct confrontation with the enemy, he'll forget his evil ways and learn to love us. All who oppose them are indicted as warmongers. They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
I got that black on black skin tone, actual fact syndrome. That's why I dropped the jewel in every verse you heard me shit on. Okay.
Welcome to Yellow Brick Road. I'm Jordan, and today I'm talking about Benjamin Dixon for some reason. But first, please consider donating to Devon's Journey to Recover. The GoFundMe link is in the description box. Click that link, read the story, check out the other donations, and if you got $5 or more laying around, you want to donate to a charity, you can. You just go to Devon's Journey to Recovery. GoFundMe link in the description box. All right. So here we have Benjamin Dixon. He's more of, I'd say, like the Sam Cedar, Michael Brooks, TYT side of the progressives, a.k.a. progressivism without a conscience, meaning it's just about, on paper policy. He's also a James Harden lookalike, let's be real. If James Harden went bald and shaved that beard down a bit, they're like the same guy. Look at this mother freaker. That's like the same person. It's freaking me out. Maybe a little more pudgy. But come on, son. Come on. Sometimes you gotta, you gotta be a truth teller sometimes. And you look just like James Harden. That shouldn't be an insult, right? No way that's an insult. But just to give you a little bit, I'm going to show you a tweet. And to some degree, you'll be able to understand his political leanings. Seriously, just from from small pieces of rhetoric or, language or content he puts out. So here's a tweet from him. Hopefully I'm on the right page. Yeah. All right. Right here. So he sent out a tweet that says, Jimmy Dore, stay in your conspiracy theory lane and out of determining someone's blackness. That's as polite as you'll get it. It's okay. He's a tough guy. Got it? So it's Jimmy talking about Kamala Harris. Is she actually African American or Jamaican? Is she Jamaican and Indian? So that's not African American. And they're Jamaica's nowhere near Africa. Me, I don't give a shit. I just see her as corrupt, and that's reason enough. Everything else is just, profiling, essentially. It's this person robbed a bank. This is their, physical description. That's all I need aesthetics for. And, in regards to politics, it's the only reason it's needed. Go any further, you're a dumbass. And as you will see, someone says, Jimmy needs to learn the ADOS arguments. And Benjamin says, but still stay out of it. As you can see, I really like Jimmy, especially for spitting coffee in Alex Jones's face. However, he talked about growing up as a racist, but moved past it as an adult. However, he keeps having these slip-ups. Does anybody else recall a few years ago when he called Obama an Uncle Tom? Nah, I haven't heard that, but I'm not offended by it at all. And what he said is not a slip-up to me, unless you're the depth of your humanity is literally skin deep. It's literally that's how much depth you have in life if you live through what your skin looks like. You're an idiot if you do that. Seriously. And I'm not trying to be, I just talk shit. That's why I call you an idiot. But the real terminology I would say is ignorance. And as you can see, here's a response from Benjamin Dixon saying, I fucked with Jimmy when he spit in Alex Jones's face, because that's exactly all Alex Jones deserves. Why? Why's that? Why? even if Alex Jones was Hitler, your response to Hitler is spit in his face. I would figure the response would be like, hey man, you're a dumbass, and I'm going to show you better. But nope, not with politics without a conscience. When there's no conscience, all you have is your skin color or particular policies you like. Strictly, policies based on, survival rather than, survival. Rather than having the point of survival be to live. And then it's like, oh, what is living? And it's like, oh, it's to be happy or joyous or to live a full life. Not biological years. I mean, like, I got to experience. That sounds what life is more about. But politics without a conscience won't recognize that. It's just policies. So, if I look back through Benjamin Dixon's content and I ask myself, like, okay, what do you think about this topic or that topic? And then you find something to where it's like, oh, this seems like this sounds like care rather than politics. It's almost like you threw politics out the door in order to care. There's that James Harden picture again. I mean, could this be real? Let's play some of this.
When have we seen a war in our lifetime that in our generation that has been about the survival? And yes, somebody's going to bring me some examples. Please do. That has been about surviving and pushing back an existential threat. But far too often we see wars that are about protecting someone's political power or protecting someone's economic power or expanding their global reach and expanding their ambitions. And this is the cost. And then those who could do something about it, we change the channel. And we see entire nations reduced to rubble.
Now that's Benjamin Dixon talking about the Syrian war, and then an even bigger picture, which is the cost of war, and an even bigger picture of the loss of humanity. That sounds like depth to me. That's interesting. I mean, you would think someone that says something like that would appreciate the, I would say, the only candidate that has gotten Syria correct, right? If this is literally about depth and the cost of war and the children that die in the middle of these wars that are usually, as he said, for some dickhead's personal gain, personal agenda, personal ambitions, or a group of people and their collective ambitions, which could be power or wealth or whatnot. I mean, that's interesting. So you would think that this guy who's telling you about the cost of war, Syria in particular, would love to have candidates or people, just people in general, with giant platforms talking about like how we got into these things. Doesn't that help his argument? If he wanted to end the Syrian war so that there's no more kids dying, wouldn't he want, like, I want to be an expert on this so that if I walk into any random person or if somehow I get famous and I can tell everyone about this war, it's like, wouldn't you want, to have more human, more human wealth in a way? Wouldn't you appreciate someone with a larger platform than yours telling everyone, like, as far as I've heard, the most accurate depiction of what's happening in Syria? with that particular platform. There's journalists that go way further than a Tulsi Gabbard or any of those political people. But someone on that platform saying those things about, the funding of rebels, which keeps the war going, questioning the validity of the chemical attacks, right? And as we see, there's more and more information coming out about the OPCW and their reporting in Duma, right? Which led to bombs, which clearly benefits the rebels in those areas, right? As Ryan Dawson would say, the United States basically became Al-Qaeda's air force, because every time they needed air support, right, they don't have fucking planes to fly over and to help them out. But when they can fake a chemical attack, the U.S. comes in flying above and dropping bombs and all that. It's like, oh, you're like their air force. But, getting back to it, Mr. Dixon, as much as he talks about the cost of war, just like some candidate we've heard talk about, that's like one of our political talking points is cost of war. He will say this about that candidate.
The reason people do this, and I'll keep it short because I got so much to cover. The reason political commentators, particularly independent commentators from Krystal, because she's doing this too. I don't know who she supports, but she's doing it. She did it all day. Krystal from thehill.com. She's got a big show on there, right? From that show all the way down to Kyle Kulinski and Jimmy Dore. The reason they do this is because Tulsi Gabbard gives you the appearance as though you are really anti-establishment. Like you keep it real because you support this outsider or you never attack this outsider. And that, my friends, is a commodity.
That's right. So, if you are a independent person with a platform and you're saying, look, guys, remember that war you hated? Remember the cost of war? Remember all that shit? And you point out, like, hey, there's this candidate who talks about, like, what's really going on there. Not just war is bad, but also, look what our intelligence services are doing in these countries. Oh, look, we're funding these rebels with weaponry. Oh, look, these chemical attacks, like, some people are saying this might not be what it looks like. In fact, there's evidence. In fact, there's whistleblowers. If you support that candidate, you're doing it for money. Remember that. This is for money, strictly. It's a commodity. They're just selling the brand of anti-establishment, right? Krystal, Kyle Kulinski, Jimmy Dore. They have no integrity. They don't make choices based on their conscience. It's just political capital to boost their brand up. Make them feel like a credible rebel, you know? That's why this is happening. Now, if you can see the video, the words there, one of his topics he talks about is simply drop out Tulsi, right? Before she was a political operative for Donald Trump, right? But now it's just, they just have no reasoning for it. They're just saying, just drop out. And they will go after you if you say, oh, she's not a bad candidate. I want to hear her ideas because no one else is fucking saying it. Or if you say, not even Bernie's talking about funding rebels in Syria or the OPCW or Julian Assange. And it's like she even got to the Yemen thing, the bill that Bernie Sanders wrote about, funding and arming Saudi Arabia in the Yemen war, or in the war in Yemen. I think she did that before he did, or said something about it before he did. which apparently is important because all these Bernie people keep telling me about Bolivia. I'm like, yeah, no, man. I get it. Apparently it turned into a race somehow. It's only a race when Bernie's winning. Otherwise, it's not even existence. Like, you should just drop out. I know Bernie won't say these ideas out loud, but we still need Tulsi to drop out. That makes little to no fucking sense. Oh, and I believe it's here. Sorry for the baby dick face in the corner of the video, but it's more about the tweet. Let me enlarge that so you can see it. It's more about the tweet. Don't worry about baby dick face. I'm just making fun of him. Don't worry about it. Well, you can see the tweet says, look, in this independent media space, being anti-establishment is a hustle at this point that commenters can cash in on. So he is saying what I'm saying, what I think he's saying, which is these guys only care, support, or talk about Tulsi Gabbard, even though Kyle Kulinski, probably one of the biggest Bernie people, Krystal Ball is probably a Bernie person, and Dore outright endorse Tulsi Gabbard. Even though 2 out of 3 are probably big Bernie people. The only reason Krystal probably doesn't say, oh, I'm just a Bernie supporter, is because she does like the TV pundit journalist person thing, where she has to stay neutral on the surface at least. But I'm awfully sure she's probably a Bernie supporter. And you're telling me that the only reason they talk about Tulsi Gabbard is to cash in on it. Even though, considering all the content they make, they're not really talking about Tulsi Gabbard that much. Like the baby dick face in this video actually says, like, he supports Tulsi because she goes on his program all the time and blah, blah, blah. Like, what, twice? 3 times maybe? I don't know. If you ask me, if I look at the character I'm dealing with, the character of Jimmy Dore, it's like something tells me he doesn't just have people on, or he doesn't just support a candidate because they're nice to him. That's the way I see it, but I could be wrong. James Harden, a.k.a. Benjamin Dixon, also says, indirectly or directly supporting Tulsi is the 2019 version of being anti-establishment. So some commenters are straddling the fence to keep cashing in. Or she's the only one telling you about Syria, like details about Syria. What is Bernie saying? Like, Assad must go. Even if you love Bernie, you still, like, I still want to hear a better version of that. I'd like to hear that on a national stage. But, once again, we're dealing with politics without a conscience. And he's on that team. He's in that realm. Politics without a conscience. Now, they may think they're using their conscience in the sense of, well, we need to get this to happen so that the thing I'm using my conscience for, comes to fruition, right? We need to strategize to get Bernie elected because he'll give health care and this and whatnot for people. Rather than, okay, my idea is this thing, Medicare for all, or anti-war, or whatever. Directly using your conscience, straight up, and say, Bernie looks like he'd be the best at getting the most things that I care about done. Oh, this other person may cover some interests that Bernie doesn't cover. They should be around too. So that it pushes Bernie to start talking about these things. Bernie himself said, or I think it was a CNN town hall, and they asked Bernie, what do you feel like you need to work on the most? And he's like, foreign policy. It's obvious, foreign policy. But he knows. I don't know. I mean, it seems like dumb guy logic can clean this type of stuff up pretty easily. Tulsi's not your problem. Like, Biden is. Buttigieg, probably Warren, and any other establishment candidate. Now, you could say, well, I don't know what these guys are going to do. I don't know it. Like, let's say Tulsi gets in office and she just goes a full 180. That's not a full thing. Does a 180 and turns around on all her policies, said, see, I was establishment the whole time. Yeah. Getting away with this. Yeah. Let's say that's the case. It's like, well, or let's say you're worried about that. It's like, okay, make your case for that. But then, you have to make that case, or you have to make that observation, like, carry that while you're looking at other candidates as well and say, I don't like this either. I don't like this person could be, establishment the whole time. The problem is they can't do that with Tulsi and then not do it to Bernie. That's the conundrum they're in. I had a bigger point to that. I don't know why I said that. Probably I think the bigger point was you need to keep your honest observations going the whole time, because the point is your conscience. The issues that are attached to your conscience, those are the things. Those are the things you fight for. Not fight for particular personalities first, and then that personality will somehow get these policies. No. Policies first. Straight up. So that there is no grace period. Right? How long was it until people started rebelling against Barack Obama? Right? It's because the personality came first. You're like, oh, Obama, yes. It's like, he'll get the policies done someday. It's coming. It's around the corner. It's going to be here any day now. It's like, they're going to do that for Bernie Sanders if he gets elected. They're going to do that for Tulsi Gabbard if she got elected. That's what people are going to do. Because they've fallen in love with the personality rather than the thing most closely attached to their conscience, which is the policy, the actions, right? So, yeah. Expect these guys, like these two people, James Harden and Baby Dickface, expect them to, if Bernie got elected, expect them to sit back and say, we did it. It's over. Or we're going to have to fight these guys to get Bernie's things done. It's like, no. You should be fighting Bernie too. Say, hey man, what's taking so long? Or hey man, you should be like, you should only be stopping to eat and sleep and, hang out with family every so often. Other than that, you should be like working, constant working. If not, you shouldn't be there if you're not ready for that job. I think he could be. As far as like what he wants to do on the surface, he's not the guy in regards of, what I would look for, which is like a metaphysical understanding of how important, morality is as a concept and as a real thing. But, apparently that's asking too much in 2019. Anyways, yeah, this video went longer than I expected, but whatever. That's it for me. Please subscribe if you like, comment, agree, disagree. Does Benjamin Dixon look just like James Harden, but with a bald head and a, trimmed beard? Please tell me. This is very important. Donate. Devon's Journey to Recovery. GoFundMe link in the description box. And with all that said, give this video a thumbs down.
Say you wanna get in.